Good afternoon and welcome to our April ICE webinar. Today we are joined by John Walker, Technical Support Specialist at AllParts Medical, who will be discussing reducing downtime with his guide to using technical support effectively. John is a renowned technical support specialist known throughout the HTM industry for his deep troubleshooting expertise. With decades of hands-on experience supporting diagnostic imaging systems, he is dedicated to helping field service engineers diagnose complex problems faster and reduce system downtime. Now, ICE webinars would like to thank our sponsor, AllParts Medical. AllParts Medical provides multi-modality, multi-OEM replacement parts from its facilities in Nashville and Tennessee. In addition to parts sales, AllParts also provides customers an extensive array of in-depth training classes and technical support before and after the sale. An ISO certified quality management system helps deliver an industry-leading warranty rate. So if you'd like more information, please visit allpartsmedical.com. Today's live webinar is eligible for one Art Category A, CE credit by the AHRA, and you can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed 1 hour after the completion of today's webinar. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 CE credit, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. We'll be wrapping up today's presentation with a live Q&A, so please submit your questions anytime using the questions feature on your dashboard. Okay, let's kick off today's webinar by giving away one of our ICE gym bags to the attendee that can tell me the answer to the following trivia question. April is National Pecan Month. Which state is the largest producer of pecans? Answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard, and I'll reveal the answer at the end of the webinar. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our presenter today is John Walker. So John, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here to present for you, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity. So let's get started. So we're going to be talking specifically about reducing downtime and some of the ways that you, as an FSC or someone seeking technical support, can, one, reduce the amount of downtime and assist the technical support engineer in helping you to reduce that downtime. So by the end of this webinar, you would know when to bring in technical support to avoid unnecessary downtime. Be prepared with the right information before making your call. That's very important to help precise diagnosis. Then clearly describe system issues to speed up that diagnosis, and to work more effectively with technical support to solve the problem faster. As mentioned before, my name is John Walker, and here at AllParts Medical, I am the X-ray cath lab C-arm portable technical support specialist. I've been in this industry for coming up on 25 years next month, actually. For my first 9 years in the industry, I worked for Remedpar, and I worked exclusively with portable X-ray systems, mobile surgical C-arms, and mammo machines. And in that time there, I worked with repairing parts, testing parts, repairing systems, refurbishing systems, and I was also responsible for developing some training material and presenting those training materials as an instructor at Remedpar. I moved from Remedpar to AllParts Medical, and I continued in that those same roles in, again, C-arm, portables, and mammo, and of course teaching those same classes. And so I did that for approximately 10 years at AllParts, and then within the last 5 years or so, I transitioned into the cath lab arena and working in X-ray rooms. So again, doing the same things: repairing parts, testing parts, repairing systems, offering technical support, and parts identification. So I've been doing all that for quite some time, and I feel like I have a unique perspective on some of these systems, and in a lot of ways, some of the perspectives that many people may not have, because in those 20 plus years, those are the things that I did exclusively, and I did not, I wasn't, I'll say, burdened with the responsibility of working on other types of systems. So today we're going to try to understand technical support and what it can offer for the field service engineer and for service managers and procurement managers. So first, let's understand what technical support is valued for. We know that system downtime disrupts operations in a facility, patient care, and can, of course, affect the revenue of that facility. Because those imaging systems are mission critical to clinical workflow and also to daily patient throughput, that can surely hinder the throughput and the workflow as the system is down and disabled. Even short outages can delay diagnosis and impact over patient outcomes. So that is to say that even if a system is down for an hour, a couple of hours, or even a day, it can cause impact to the operation of the facility and, of course, the diagnosis of the patient. And longer downtime for periods of weeks or longer can cause staff burnout, and then, of course, loss of patient trust when the patient is not certain that they're able to be diagnosed by the facility operators. 24/7 magazine, they reported in 2004 that the average cost for system downtime can be upwards to $8,000 per minute. And in that $8,000, that includes the cost of parts, the amount of revenue being lost by the facility, the salary for service members, field service engineers, parts managers, and the general overall cost of losing patient operations. So that $8,000 per minute can be a sizable pressure on an operating facility. So defining technical support, we'll talk about a couple of different things. First and foremost, the core technical functions. Core technical functions of technical support is based basically on the guided troubleshooting, error code interpretations, system configuration checks, and then precise parts identification. We talk about those things in the sense that guided troubleshooting can help us narrow down the cause of the failure. We talk about error code interpretation because we know that error codes can be coded in some ways, and some of the coding, some of the language can be very very confusing. So when we do error code interpretation, that helps to clarify what those error codes represent. System configuration checks, what we mean by that is those systems many systems can be configured in multiple ways, and it may be that one configuration may cause an adverse effect to the way the system would normally operate. And of course, precise parts identification. There are multiple types of systems. Some of them have similar sounding names, and then they all would have certain parts that are maybe not transferable from one system to another, maybe not physically compatible, maybe software and firmware may not be compatible. And if that's the case, we have to be certain that we have the correct parts identification for that system. That would help us, again, in reducing the amount of downtime when we get the right part in the system on the first try. Also, we talk about specialized technical support. And that is technical support that is geared towards expertise on a particular system, that system software, that system's, again, configuration, the OEM documentation for that particular system, and then common failures for that type of system. There are several different types of systems available that will have similar sounding parts, but if we use specialized technical support, then we can understand, again, exactly what's going on with that particular machine. That's one of the things that I mentioned earlier, is that for many of the years that I worked in the repair arena, I worked specifically every day on the same piece of equipment, same types of equipment, specifically portables, specifically C-arms, specifically mammo machines. And I didn't venture outside of those for almost 20 years. Next, we have the idea that this technical support augments field service engineers by giving them the provided system-specific expertise that they would need. Because many of the technical support engineers are intimately familiar with a particular piece of equipment and the types of failures of that particular piece of equipment, we can help guide an FSC more directly instead of taking broad strokes and broad guesses at what that particular failure may be. So why would we engage technical support? We engage technical support specifically when troubleshooting needs to be focused, not exploratory. Like I just mentioned, when we need to know exactly where we need to focus our concentration and not take broad guesses at what could be the problem. Also, technical support can help to validate the FSC's findings and avoid unnecessary parts replacement. It's possible that there may be failures that are caused by one or two or three even different types of parts, but if you have specialized tech support, we can narrow that down to maybe one or two particular parts. Again, as I mentioned before, that helps us to ensure that you, as a field service engineer, receive the correct part the first time. Also, it's used to accelerate resolution, obviously, for system failures. Again, we mentioned before that those system failures can be mission critical, time-sensitive failures to some facilities. So specialized tech support can help to reduce that downtime and bring it to a minimum. Also, it provides confidence to your clinical team so that they can feel like this system has been repaired properly and that they can move on with using it as needed. So the next question then is, who and when would need to engage in technical support at the right time? Who engages in technical support? Primarily field service engineers, because these are the people that are primarily responsible for the diagnostics and restoring a system to its functionality. The majority of the calls that I take as a technical support specialist come from field service engineers, whether they be in-house or third party, but they primarily come from field service engineers who are looking for a bit of assistance. Secondly, you may receive, as a technical support specialist, calls from parts managers or service managers. These are individuals that may not necessarily work on the machine, but are potentially procurement managers, and they're looking to get pricing and availability. But again, it's important that when working with those individuals, we have accurate parts verification and identification. In some cases, they may call technical support because they already have a part number and they just want to be sure that it is the correct part. In other cases, they may call because they have no idea what the part number is. Sometimes they have to try and interpret what the part request is from the field service engineer, and they may speak to a technical support engineer to help understand exactly what it is that the field service engineer is looking for. Thirdly, we have biomedical and in-house teams. Many facilities have biomedical engineers that are on site, and oftentimes those engineers may be used as first call individuals. They may come to the facility and may not know exactly much about the system itself, but they may be asked to at least take a look at the system, do some type of an initial diagnosis, and then refer back to the field service engineer as to what they think may be the problem. In some cases, those biomed engineers will give us a call, and when we talk to them, depending on how complicated the problem is, we may even be able to help them fix the problem right there on the spot. And sometimes we may have to give them some ideas, and then they can either order parts based on our recommendations or communicate with their normal field service engineer based on our recommendations. So those three types of individuals are primarily who we speak with when we do technical support. And the good thing about it is that technical support, our support, serves as a shared knowledge resource across all these roles. At AllParts, our technical support, we have several individuals who are able to offer that tech support, and we are able to give that information, whatever information that's required by the field service engineers, service managers, parts managers, and the biomed teams to, again, help reduce that downtime. So when would you need to call technical support? Obviously, the number one reason an individual may call tech support is because the problem is getting more confusing. It's not getting clear at all. And again, with our specialized tech support, we're able to help reduce the confusion and maybe even get the system and the FSC on their way a lot quicker. Also, when an engineer has come to the edge of their knowledge of what they know about the system, we understand that many FSCs have to work on multiple systems, multiple modalities, and multiple types of systems, and in many cases, at different locations. So a lot of times they don't have the ability to deep dive into a particular system the way someone here at AllParts can. Again, someone like myself who's had many years of experience on specific individual systems. So it's easier for them to reach out to a person like myself who has intimate knowledge with that system and those types of failures that system has to get that system back up and running. Another reason is when the clock is working against you, and that is to say that the system has been down maybe for too long. Maybe it's been down for a day or two. Maybe it's been down for a week. Maybe the facility managers are their internal temperatures is getting hot and they need a resolution right away. Maybe the facility is starting to lose patients. They're losing the ability to diagnose patients. So the clock is ticking. Oftentimes I hear individuals tell me that the piece of equipment works in a limited capacity and they need the system to work in its full capacity, but the technicians, the X-ray technicians, will continue to use the machine, but they may give it over to the field service engineer for repair for a specific period of time. They may say, we need you to get this thing up by X o'clock because we've got cases coming up in the next few hours or in the next day or two. So again, the clock is working against you. A lot of times I'll speak with field service engineers and they just want to confirm that they're on the right track with their own diagnosis because a lot of times they have the good instincts and they know exactly what they're doing, but because again, someone like myself may have more information, we may know some tips and tricks that could help them diagnose a little better. They may call us just to make sure that they're on the right track. And then of course, because guessing could cost more time than simply asking. A lot of people don't want to look silly. They don't want to look incompetent. So they tend to guess a little bit, but sometimes it just takes a matter of letting your ego to the side and just ask questions. And sometimes the questions may be relatively simple. The fix may be simple, but asking gets the system up a lot faster than just guessing. And so the goal isn't to avoid calling tech support. It is to call tech support at the right moment. So technical support can be delivered in many, many ways. Probably one of the more common ways that technical support is delivered, especially in today's environment, is by using your cell phone. Almost everyone has a cell phone, and the cell phone can work in just about any environment. So calling technical support on cell phone is the easiest and quickest way. But also, we have email, we have text messaging, we also have video, depending on the type of situation. So that is those are the most common ways that technical support can be delivered. Also, we have real-time remote support. There's a tool that I'll talk a little more about here soon called Reacts that will allow for step-by-step visual guidance for technical support. We oftentimes like to call Reacts over-the-shoulder tech support, and I'll explain more about that when we get to it. We have available to us in many ways OEM manuals and documentation and schematics. These in many cases are things that are available also to the FSC from the OEM's websites. They can be downloaded and reviewed by the FSC. But on top of that, we have real world troubleshooting knowledge of specific systems. So documentation plus experience can be a gold mine. Also, again, because of modern technology, technical support can be offered anywhere, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, by way of cell phones and email, video support. We can offer you tech support pretty much anytime you need it from anywhere. As long as there's cell signal or Wi-Fi signal, technical support's available. Let's talk about Reacts. Reacts stands for Education Augmented Communication Training Supervision. It was originally developed to be just that, remote education tool. But since its inception, more features have been added to Reacts that allows for two-way video communication as opposed to one-way video communication. It allows for live technical support. That is, again, that over-the-shoulder tech support I mentioned. It allows a technical support expert to see what you see in real time. Oftentimes I like to compare it to FaceTime or something similar, or maybe Teams, but it also has features that FaceTime and Teams and other two-way communications don't have, and we'll get into some of those a little later, but it has tools that allow for that guided step-by-step troubleshooting. It helps reduce miscommunication and helps speed up diagnosis because it allows the technical support specialist to see exactly what it is that you're looking at. It allows us to see what the boards look like, the configuration of the boards, some of the LEDs. We can look at your screens. We can look at your test tools. And by being able to do that, we can support faster resolution of your issue without additional resources. This video that you're about to see is a demonstration of some of the things that Reacts is able to do. What you'll see in this video is a technical support specialist put himself into a React session, and everything that he shares on this screen will be something that the field service engineer would be able to see. So this is the engineer, the technical support engineer, presenting himself so that the field service engineer can see him. He's also able to bring in images, in this case, a couple of circuit boards that he brought into the Reacts session so that both himself and the field service engineer can make sure that they're talking about the same things, because oftentimes there can be miscommunication about what part field service engineer is looking at, what part of the cabinet the field service engineer is in. And so Reacts allows us to verify that we're looking at the same thing and we're comparing apples to apples. Also, what the technical support engineer placed in the React session is some schematics of these two circuit boards and even clipping of the service manual that shows the parts identification, again, so that we can verify with the field service engineer that we're looking for the correct parts with the correct part numbers. Reacts can do a lot more than just bringing images into the field. You may have noticed that in this demonstration, there was a yellow dot. That yellow dot is what the field service, the technical support engineer uses as what we call a pointer. But the field service engineer also has a pointer. That yellow dot was the tech support's pointer. The field service engineer would have a red pointer, and that way, when we look at the video, we can see exactly what it is that the engineer sees. I've used FaceTime many times to try and help field service engineers, and oftentimes I would find myself pointing to my phone as if the field service engineer can see what I'm pointing at. And that's not, obviously they can't see what I'm pointing at, so then I have to try to describe what it is that I'm pointing at. Using the pointer tool in Reacts resolves for that. But again, it allows for field service engineers and technical support engineers to communicate more precisely about the system, the physical system that they're working with. So next we want to talk about preparing for effective technical support engagement. So we want to talk about some basic practices that we oftentimes recommend before you pick up the phone to call tech support. First, when you have a problem with the system, if you have error code documentation or manuals available to you, that's usually the best place to look, or at least the best first place to look. Oftentimes the answer is right there with you and it's right in front of you, but you may not realize it until you look into the documentation. The other thing that we oftentimes would recommend is that the FSC take a look at any power or system checks. We're talking power supplies, we're talking about fuses, internal circuit breakers, connections, things of that nature. Because a lot of times, if you have a bad power supply or if you have a blown fuse, when you start with those, we can narrow down which section of the system is failing. After you do those basic checks, review your manual, document your error codes or error messages, and then you call technical support. The next thing we ask or we would recommend is being able to clearly define the issue. Again, capturing error messages and codes, recording system behaviors, exactly what is the system doing. Note what happens at the moment of failure and determine if the issue is repeatable. You'd be surprised at how many times people will call me and they can't explain to me what's happening with the system. And not until they get there, or they may have to go off and speak with someone else and then call me back. But if you can capture all that information beforehand, again, it reduces the amount of time that we have to diagnose the problem. Error codes, for example. I oftentimes ask people to take pictures of error codes because a lot of times someone will say to me that it's giving a certain type of failure. For example, it may be giving a filament error, but they don't say specifically which filament error. So if you can take pictures of error messages and error codes, if you can maybe make a video of the behavior of the system, that can go a long way with helping to diagnose the system quickly. The next is to confirm system details. And what we mean by that is being able to tell the technical support person specifically what type of system you have, the make, the model, if there's a submodel, the system serial number, that can be handy, system configuration, and any changes that have been made to the system. Oftentimes, you may have a system that has similar sounding names as other pieces of equipment, but they're not the same. You may have an Optima this and an Optima that, but they may be completely different modalities. You may have OEC Elite and then OEC 9900 Elite. Those two machines are completely different, but they sound similar. So when we ask you for certain types of information, it's really important that you can give us the most concise information possible. And why, again, does this matter? Is because it reduces misdiagnosis. It reduces unnecessary delays because you may order the wrong part. You may receive the wrong part because we had a part that delivered for one system that was originally intended for another. And it enables faster and more effective troubleshooting. The other thing that happens that actually really doesn't happen as often as it would be nice is if we could have the field service engineer to think about the future after the fix, things that may be valuable for tech support and also for the FSC after the system is returned to its operating condition. So here are a few points of things that you may want to consider. First, ask questions and clarify. Make sure that you understand the root cause and the solution for the symptom that you originally had. Because once you understand the root cause, then you may be able to understand more about how the system failed, what caused the root cause. Maybe a certain board failed, which caused a certain fuse to fail, which caused a certain power supply to fail. So it's really important to try to understand the root cause of the problem and the solution for that root cause. The second thing is to capture key takeaways. That is to say, to document what worked so that if you happen to have this problem again, you can have some documentation for yourself that may help with the future troubleshooting. Thirdly, shared feedback when needed. We would really love it when a field service engineer repairs a system and then responds to us and lets us know what fixed the problem. Oftentimes, the field service engineer will order a part or do some type of repair, and then we don't hear back from them after that. The next time we hear from them may be when the next failure happens on another piece of equipment. But it's really helpful if we get feedback from the field service engineer to explain to us what fixed the problem, because two things happen there. One, we know that they have the problem documented, but also we can document the repair so that we can help someone else in the future. And in doing that, that helps strengthen collaboration between the technical support specialist and the field service engineer. It helps to build a working relationship, and it makes us feel as if we are building some type of a bond or a team scenario. And then the next thing is to apply what you learn. Use each call to improve future diagnostics and efficiency. So I know that oftentimes field service engineers are in a time crunch and they have to get the system up as quickly as possible. But it's very useful and it's notable that if you can document the service, document the parts that were replaced, the calibrations that were required, and document what exactly fixed the system, it may help for future diagnosis. So here's a quick checklist for before you call. First, what you've done. Check the basics, review the documentation, narrow down the issue as much as possible. Once you've done that, then we can move on to the next step and share with what you know. System details, make, model, and configuration, error codes, and the moment of failure, whether the issue is repeatable or whether it's intermittent, what the system was doing at the time of failure. Oftentimes, that's a big question mark for us. When the engineer gets to the facility and they get to the system, oftentimes they are not exactly sure, and the X-ray technician, they are not exactly sure. You'd be surprised at how many times they get the system's not working. Well, of course, it's not working, but that doesn't really tell us a whole lot. We need a little bit more information to know what's not working. And then what you can share. Steps that have already been taken, things that you've already done, troubleshooting that you've already done, parts that you've already replaced. Those are the types of things that when you speak to a technical support engineer like myself, you can share so that we don't basically reinvent the wheel. If you've already tried these things and you tell us that you've already tried them, then we don't have to reverse diagnose it and say, well, try this board or try this step or try the software install if you've already done that. The other thing, again, is to gather photos and videos of the issue because, again, visuals tell us a lot. It can help us determine what the problem is a lot quicker if we have some type of visual representation. And then, of course, any unusual behaviors or recent changes. When I say unusual behaviors, there are a lot of things about a system that you may notice. Oftentimes when a system is powered up, it's something that goes unnoticed. Certain sounds that the machine makes, certain LEDs and lamps that come on. As a matter of fact, certain smells that the machine may have. Those things may change during a failure, and it's important to note those changes because those changes may give us a clue as to what's going on with the system. So if you don't hear certain relays energize, if you don't hear certain motors turn, if things don't physically move the way they normally would, that can give us a good indication as to where the failure happens to be. So hopefully that gives you a lot of information and helps you figure out certain ways that you can engage with technical support specialists when you come across a piece of equipment that's failing and you want to get the most effective way to resolve that failure.
Perfect. Thanks, John. We've got a couple of questions that have come in. First one, important, is your tech support free?
Yes. So at AllParts Medical, our technical support is 100% free to anyone who calls. It doesn't matter who you work for. It doesn't matter where you purchase the part. It doesn't matter if you purchase the part from us or not. If you call us, you can get 100% at no charge tech support. You don't need a PO. You just call us and give us some information about yourself and your system and your symptoms, and we'll be glad to help.
Perfect. So another question here is, what OEMs do you offer tech support for?
That's a very good question. At AllParts, we offer tech support on many different OEMs, primarily GE, Toshiba, Hologic, Shimadzu, Siemens. We offer, those are the major modalities. AllParts is a Philips company. We're owned by Philips, but we don't offer much technical support on Philips products. Philips would prefer that we offer that tech support to Philips. So if you call us and if you have a system of Philips piece of equipment, we can offer limited tech support, but in most cases, you may end up having to speak directly to Philips. We can do also some parts identification on Philips products, but again, more detailed parts identification would be done with Philips directly. Also, I'll say this as well, there are often times when I personally get calls for pieces of equipment that I've never heard of before, or OEMs that I'm not familiar with. If I can find documentation online for that piece of equipment, then I can offer tech support on that piece of equipment. I've offered tech support and parts identification on dental X-ray equipment. And in fact, not very long ago, I had an individual who worked in a metal foundry who was looking for a piece of part for an X-ray machine that they use to find stress fractures in their products. And it was a piece of equipment I'd never heard of, but I was able to find documentation. So we are able to offer tech support on many, many different types of pieces of equipment, different OEMs, but the major ones we definitely do. Again, GE, Siemens, Shimatsu, Hologic, and then some of the other ones.
Okay, before I ask you the next question, would you mind just flipping back to your last slide? Because I've had a couple of people asking how they can get hold of you.
There we go.
Perfect. That's it. So for those that were asking, you can see John's information there. Okay, this question just popped up. Are you really available for 24/7 tech support?
Yes, we are. We are available for 24/7 tech support via phone call, again, via text message. Email, not so much, only because, you know, our email notification may not ping loud enough for us to respond to it. But we definitely are 24/7 tech support. If myself or one of the other technical support specialists are not available, then we can refer you to individuals within that modality that you may be interested in. Here at AllParts, we have a group of people, X-ray engineers, CT engineers, MRI engineers, and if we're not available as tech support, we can refer you to those people. But yes, the answer to your question is we are truly available 24/7. In fact, not very long ago, I was taking tech support calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it happens.
Glad I'm not your wife, John.
She's used to it.
Okay. Okay, before we wrap up, John, have you got any kind of top tips to give anybody that would help?
Sorry. So the biggest tip that I can offer, and I kind of alluded to in the presentation, is that when you call us, the most information that you can have available, the better. Especially when you call with the system information. Oftentimes, I get it all the time actually, where a person will call me and they'll say, "Hey John, I've got a machine that's given this symptom," and they don't tell me what the machine is. So they'll run through all the symptoms, and oftentimes I have to say, "Hang on for 1 second. What system is it that we're talking about?" Sometimes I can kind of figure out what they're talking about based on the symptom, but sometimes I can't. So the most information you can have available, if you can, and this is really, really big and really important, if you can have video or photos of what your system, what the failure is, that helps tremendously. There was a time when video and photo tech support was not prevalent, but now it is. So if you can do that, that would be great. Those are like my two major tips. Obviously, doing the basics, troubleshooting and checking power supplies and checking fuses, those are simple. But even if you don't get around to doing that, if you can take a picture or a video of the failure, that helps tremendously.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John, for your time today and for a really informative presentation. Thank you so much. If you'd like more information from John, you can see his information on your screen. So please contact him. Or if you want just information about AllParts, please visit allpartsmedical.com. As promised, the answer to today's trivia question is Georgia, of course. Now, just a quick reminder, you can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed 1 hour after the completion of today's live webinar. You must complete the survey to receive your One Art Category A CE credit by the AHRA, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once you've submitted the survey. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. Please visit icewebinars.live for more details of all our upcoming ICE webinars and, of course, complimentary registration. Also, if you've missed any of our past ICE webinars, including any by AllParts Medical, please visit icewebinars.live to view our whole webinar archive. So thank you all for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.